The Northtown News Magazine is brought to you in part by eVoter. eVoter is proud to be a sponsor of the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show, and we're about ready to begin.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi there, I'm the real Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Thank you, Marty. Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank my entire technical crew, Sonny Hirsch. Dial us up on the World Wide Web at www.ntnm.org, where you can watch all of our shows on YouTube, over 140,000 shows watched to date. Community Policing World Big On. Sonny, in his spare time, is chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. If you go to caps24.org, you'll see all the information about community policing for the neighborhood. We've got a first-time guest here. He's been discussed a little bit. He is a partner in the law firm of Fioretti and Lawler, as well as the second ward alderman, and somebody who's talked about is maybe doing some very interesting stuff at some point in time besides. It's Bob Fioretti. How are you?
Thanks. Thanks for letting me be here today.
First of all, thank you, and we appreciate it, and we want to thank Enrique for all the help and getting you over here, and want to say hi to Jim Nelly, too, who you know very well.
Definitely good, and I called Jim on the way over, and unfortunately he wasn't in his office. He's probably out there doing the hard toils in the courtroom or so.
Right, yeah, there's a lot of, people are already getting their getting their petitions together for the coming aldermanics.
Yes, they just started, and there'll be a lot of people out there running for aldermanic jobs, and especially with the turnover that we're seeing already, a lot of aldermen are leaving. It's going to be a new city council on a new day come this May when everyone's sworn in.
Is that going to be a good thing?
You know what, I think change is good. I think change we should almost have term limits. Some of these people that have been in here for 40 years, they have great institutional knowledge, but as elected leaders, it's time to move on. You're not there, you're here to move the city forward in a way that attracts the global presence of this city. And if you're there too long, you sometimes get sour in terms of what you're doing. You forget about having good ideas, and you forget about embracing new ideas.
I used to be against term limits, but not anymore, especially in Springfield, as well as the city council here.
And I agree. I always thought that people should decide, and I think the people do decide. But here in the city of Chicago, there's the way people vote are by leaving the city, moving to the suburbs because they wanted a better education, they wanted safer streets. We're overrun with gangs. We have 80,000 gang members, 70 gangs in the city of Chicago. And all we have are 13,200 budgeted police positions, and we're about 2,000 of those short. And we need to do something to help our police, because it's easy to criticize our police department, but when we're in trouble, the first three numbers we call are 911, and we hope they're there within seconds.
Well, myself, having been asked about 17 years ago to take over my CAPS beat for a couple months till they found somebody else, and I'm still waiting, guys. I can't begin to tell you what the cutbacks have done to the regular police as well as community policing. And something really nice was built up before all these problems, and it's really hurting the city right now.
And there's no doubt about it. I'm seeing it. There are 6 police districts that are in the second ward, that affect the second ward.
You should give us the boundaries for the second ward.
Well, it's the greatest ward in the city of Chicago. And I say that because it starts in Bronzeville, 37th Street, Prairie, Calumet,
I didn't know it goes that far south.
And Giles, yes. In fact, as you go north, we had where the location of the Civil War camp was, Camp Douglas. 6,000 Confederate soldiers died there during the internment. And I believe there were 2 mayors also in prison in that Civil War camp.
Now, that's where the old Chicago Coliseum was also afterwards?
No, that's even further. That's at 32nd Street. The Coliseum was at 15th and Wabash, which is across the street from the ward over in that little area. It's actually in the 3rd ward, and there's a little park
over
there.
32nd, near the IC tracks or whatever?
Yes, right in that area where the IC tracks. Douglas owned a large tract of land over there. His tomb is over there. There are
right,
parks
that's that
named
big
after
thing
him.
Sticking up from the IC.
Yes, exactly.
I'm a former Southsider.
Yeah, I could tell. But they had the Civil War camp there, and again, 6,000 Confederate soldiers died there during the war. And it goes all the way. We take in Soldier Field, McCormick Place, Hutchinson Park, where Barack gave his speech the night that he won the when he won the nomination to be the President of the United States. We go from there, we also have Northerly Island in the ward. We go all the way, we start going west. We don't have Greektown or Presidential Towers, and we don't have the United Center, but the people of Second Ward have all the parking lots of the United Center. And then at Damon, though, we go all the way to Lake Street.
Wow.
And then from Lake, we go all the way to beyond Sacramento, actually. And both sides of the expressway, we have most of the Eisenhower as we go all the way down there. Most of the medical district, most of Taylor Street, depends on what side. You better be careful on which side as you're walking through it. On Taylor Street, you can be in one ward or the other ward. It's a great ward. I mean, it's a microcosm of the city of Chicago. We have 25 parks, over 40 schools in the ward, 40 public schools in the ward. We have a number of neighborhoods. We have, and it's just really represents the history of the city. And you know, you being a Cubs fan, the last time the Cubs won the World Series, it was in the Second Ward.
Wow, that was really?
Yes, it was at the West Side grounds, located right on Walcott off of Polk there.
As our mutual friend Jim Nelly gave me a cap that basically says Cubs World Series champs 1908.
Yeah, right. And I got to tell you, we put a plaque out there, and there's a big plaque that shows what happened at that location. And the day we dedicated it, we had Harry Carey's wife was there, Ernie Banks was there.
Oh, Federal Park. That's where.
No. Federal Park was another park that was also built, but this was the West Side grounds, and where the Cubs won most, if not all of it. Well, Federal Park is actually the first Wrigley Field. Now that was designed for, if I'm not mistaken, the Chicago Whales, and that team and was built in, I believe, 1912, and that team went bankrupt. Charlie Wiggum, they used to call him Lucky Wiggum, who built Wrigley Field for $250,000, then ended up buying the Cubs for $500,000 and moved them up to the what is now Wrigley Field. The Wrigley slowly bought him out over a number of years, and we have what we have. And again, the last time the Cubs
could probably get you a luxury box now.
Yeah, that's about it. But again, the last time the Cubs won a World Series, it was in the Second Ward. And you know, you talk about the history we talk about the Camp Douglas. We talk about Mrs. O'Leary had a cow in the Second Ward. We just had a bike trip that was 10 miles throughout the ward, and it was really fascinating because it was built on historic areas and historic happenings that occurred throughout the city of Chicago. And it really is a rich ward in terms of its diversity, economic diversity, racial diversity, and more importantly of the history of what this city was all about.
That's a tour. That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you. You know.
Oh, wait a minute. I'll tell you
Sure.
one last one.
Go ahead.
The Battle of Fort Dearborn occurred in the Second Ward.
Really?
We actually commemorated a park there last August 15th. We have a plaque there that shows where as some people refer to it as a massacre, but that's where the battle occurred, right off of Calumet and 18th Street. There's a tunnel that you can go to underground to walk to Soldier Field off of there.
Now, that's really quite a diverse history that I never expected to get. Thank you. A lot of people have talked about, this is the end of your first term right now, basically.
3 years into it. 3 years and a few months, yes.
Very good. And there has been talk about you from a number of sources about seeking higher. There was actually some talk for a while that you might be running for Congress before Danny Davis decided to run for re-election. There's also been talk, the reader likes to mention you as a possible reader candidate among other people. Any thoughts about those?
Well, I looked at the race for Congress because I thought with Congressman Davis giving up the seat if he was going to run, I thought it would be a unique opportunity because I think what we need to do is bring home the bacon for the city of Chicago and affect all of the city. And right now we're in a unique time for bringing back dollars for the city. I have the Wacker Drive upper and lower is happening. That was $320 million from federal funds. The resurfacing of the Eisenhower was also federal funds. We've created a streetscape down Congress where you get off of where you get off from Wells all the way to Michigan, that we're going to make it into the handshake of the city. And we're going to make it a boulevard that rivals what we see in Paris and Beijing and Rio, and we put a lot of community input into it. We're going to start breaking the ground on that in the next couple of weeks. We've got a streetscape going out on Western from the Eisenhower to Madison, and those are going to put a lot of people to work. It's going to be decorative for our community. It's going to invite business to our city of Chicago. In addition to the other items that I've actively worked on to bring economic development to the Second Ward. Last night we had a meeting on Target, to bring a Target to Jackson and Racine. That'll be about 230 jobs.
Wow.
Full-time, not all of them full-time, but about that number. One good thing about Target, they do bring, they give health care benefits to even part-time employees. We're in the next couple of weeks, we should be breaking ground for a Pete's Produce fresh market at Madison and Western, which will close one of the food deserts in the city of Chicago. I've been actively working on that almost 24 hours a day. And we have been extensively working on bringing a Costco to 14th and National. And each and every one of those has about 200 to 250 jobs.
Nice. Nice. By the way, that's right near the cable place.
Yeah, right,
Jackson and
right,
Racine,
exactly.
Wow. That's a lot.
It is, and it's just a start. Because economic development, we need to have good jobs, and we need to have ways that our kids can transition into these jobs. When I first came into office, I had a very difficult issue. One of the other aldermen was opposed to it in the area, but to help Rush build an addition on their hospital. But we negotiated with Rush. Between my ward and the other ward, the Second Ward and the other ward. When I say my ward, I mean the people of my ward.
Right.
We created 500 local jobs for our residents. We have a training system for them, and those are the things that we need to do. We need to create economic development within our wards or within our city, and then not say and to hire locally. I mean, it's easy to hire people from Indiana and from Michigan and from Wisconsin because they love to come down here and then leave. But the greatest economic power of any of families is between 25 and 55, and they should be enjoying the city's amenities. And we just christened a park, and I ask everyone to come down to Sangamon and Adams and see the park that we built over there. A lot of community development involvement went into this park. And don't keep socks on, because it'll blow your socks off right away, because that's how great this park is. With any time of the day, there's 200 people in it.
Wow. And
a dog-friendly area, a children's area, and just a place to rest, relax, read a book after a stress-filled day. And as the nights are getting shorter, or the days are getting shorter, I encourage everybody to get out there and see this new park, because this is an example of what urban America should be. Keep families here, and that way, not only because of where they live, the parks, but also to have good schools and have our kids go to good schools within our neighborhoods.
That sounds really nice. You've definitely been a busy guy the last 3 years.
Well, I haven't. Yeah, I haven't had any time to rest. But I'm enjoying every moment of it, because, when we talk about the diversity of the ward and diversity of the Second Ward, it is a great ward, and it's a ward that has so much history. I've read over 40 books on the city of Chicago in my free time, going from place to place almost, or sitting at outside of one of the coffee spots that we have or so. But you learn so much, and you learn about the richness of this city and what it has to offer for everybody worldwide and globally. And the Board of Trade's in the ward, what they can do, what they can offer people. Everything can be done on a BlackBerry now, but we kept the CME here. They pay $12 million in taxes every year. We use some TIF money to keep them here on a promise that over the next 10 years they'll have 900 new jobs in the city of Chicago. And we need to be a global high-tech center that has an educational opportunities for all of our kids.
No, that sounds great. Have you made up your mind yet? You're going to run for re-election? You're going to run for mayor? Or
yes. How's that? And you know what? I'm honored that I've been asked in the last couple of weeks. 200 to 300 people have come up to me. I mean, I was walking to the car to come over here, and people that I don't know, never met before, have said, "You got to run. You got to run." These are tough times for our city. And again, I think if we have a balanced approach, a fair approach. We're going to be able to do things and move this city forward. But just because somebody gets in there, we need new ideas and new ways to bring in and attract attention to this city. I mean, the first telegraph pole was laid here in 1848.
You do know your stuff.
And the Chicago Board of Trade was organized in 1848. And when you look at what has happened globally for our city, we need to still be able to be competitive, because we're moving from an era of villages to cities to mega cities to meta cities with populations of 20 million or more. And with a state that's facing the kind of debt that we're facing, $13 billion, with a city that has $654.7 million projected debt next year, businesses are going to say, I don't need that mess. Why should I go there? I'm going to go somewhere else that doesn't have that kind of a problem. And we need to find incentives to attract businesses here. And it makes it a little tough to make the decision, but if the pieces fall into place, I'm going to take a hard look at it, and by the end of September, be ready to make a decision.
Interesting. Well, you are invited back to let us know what's going on.
All right.
And it's been great meeting. Actually, I have met you at
Yeah,
Cubs
right.
games, but
Right.
not like this. So this has been better.
Good.
Thank you. And I want to thank Sonny Hirsch. By the way, when you mentioned the CME, he actually used to be a member of the Merck.
Okay.
And I think he was doing human trafficking there, if I'm not mistaken.
Thanks.
Anyway, just kidding. If people would like to contact you or your office?
The best place is, I'll tell you one thing about my office. We get 80 to 100 emails a day. We get about 100 phone calls a day, and we have about 200 people that walk in during the course of a week. Just
Wow.
walk in at my Congress in Dearborn office. They can call me at 312-263-9273, and I wish I could recall that website. It's not so easy sometimes when you're looking at the camera, but
Google Alderman Bob Fioretti,
Yes.
and you'll find it.
You got it. Right,
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.